around the world, a celebration of the millennium. This is ABC 2000. With Peter Jennings at ABC 2000 headquarters in Times Square, Barbara Walters in Paris, Diane Sawyer in New York, Charles Gibson in London, Cokie Roberts in Rome, Elizabeth Vargas in Sydney, Connie Chung in Las Vegas, Deborah Roberts in Orlando, Jack Ford in Times Square, Carol Simpson in Chicago, and Sam Donaldson at the Y2K Command Center in Washington. With our correspondents spanning the globe in Shanghai, Bombay, Bethlehem, Moscow, Havana, Rio de Janeiro, and across the U.S., reports from Miami, New Orleans, Tucson, Los Angeles, San Francisco. And in New York, Dick Clark counting down to the new year in Times Square. Special Millennium performances by Billy Joel, Elton John, Enrique Iglesias, Faith Hill, NSYNC, Fish, The Bee Gees, Aerosmith, Blondie, Bonnie Raitt, Neil Diamond, Harry Connick Jr., Kenny G, Ray Charles, The Eagles, Barry Manilow, David Blaine, and Barbra Streisand. Now, from ABC 2000 headquarters at Times Square in New York, Peter Jennings.
What a feast this has been today for the mind and for the eye. You're looking at Easter Island, the world's most remote inhabited island, small and volcanic. And just listen to the sweetness of this celebration for a moment. It was the Dutch mariner Jacob Roggeveen who first found it, the first European to sight the island. He called it Easter Island to mark the date of his discovery. We try to celebrate the millennium everywhere. Everywhere within reason. Let's go to Washington, D.C. and take one quick look at one of the really, truly beautiful sights at night in America these days. They're working on the Washington Monument, as you know, but when they decided to cover it up, to do the work underneath, they did an absolutely gorgeous job. And there are the people gathering for the celebration on the Mall. The president will be there a little later on with Mrs. Clinton as well. They're celebrating in the White House, and we'll go back to the Mall a little later in the evening. But rarely at night did the Washington Monument ever look as beautiful as this. And now we take you to, well, it was the nation's 5th largest city at the time of the Civil War. We go back to New Orleans, founded in 1718, and Steve Osunsami on Bourbon Street. Hey, Steve.
Hey, Peter. There are at least 100,000 people jamming the narrow streets of the French Quarter. They say there's one thing that's particular about New Orleans, and that is people here are always ready for a party. As you can see, these are very popular. Today, the city of New Orleans held a jazz funeral for the millennium, something that they normally do for dignitaries. They started off the procession with a very somber note, and usually the procession changes into a very upbeat note afterwards, after they actually move the casket into the cemetery, but this time they just couldn't wait that long. This is a town where when they hold these funerals, sometimes they take the caskets into the favorite watering holes of people so that the bartenders can pour drinks on them and serve them their last drink.
Steve, let's listen to the funeral for just a second, and we'll get that crowd out behind you. Mass for the millennium. Back to you, Steve.
Yes, as you can see, lots of people in the street. And the people here say that Times Square has nothing on them, because here they can drink in the streets and basically carry on. Even the police say that they have a high tolerance for the way people behave here, because that's what the Big Easy is all about, people having a good time.
Steve Osunsami in New Orleans, I must say to the New Orleans crowd, thank you, Steve, very much. To New Orleans goes the dubious credit today, at least from my point of view, at least in my ear, of having the loudest crowd anywhere, because I couldn't hear Steve Osunsami very well, but wasn't it, to have a look at the Mass for the Millennium in itself was worth it. We want to go back to Las Vegas now, and ABC's Connie Chung.
Thank you, Peter. You should be looking at an outside view of the Bellagio Hotel, which is at the tip of the Strip. We are inside the Grand Ballroom, which is empty right now, but will be filled with 2,000 of owner Steve Wynn's closest and personal friends. They are the High Rollers, and the entertainment will be by the one and only. This man is a musician, a singer, an entertainer, an actor.
And from New Orleans.
He is the heartthrob, yes, and from New Orleans, the heartthrob crooner who brought back the big band era. Harry Connick Jr., thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Connie, and thank you, Peter. And did I understand that you said we had the loudest crowd in New Orleans? I can't believe that. Not New Orleans, partying down there?
That's right. They were sending off the last century of Millennium with a funeral,
With
right?
a jazz funeral. That's the only place in the world you'll see that.
Now, you have always been compared to Sinatra over the years, you know.
I'm sorry, who is that?
Right. I get it. But the reality is, when he was here, when he was the king of Las Vegas, he was a boozer, and he was a womanizer, and he was, you know, doing all that. I mean, the worst...
I'm continuing the tradition.
You
Connie.
are not.
I'm boozing, I'm
No,
womanizing.
you're not. No, you're about
it's
as...
fantastic.
No, you haven't even rebelled. You forgot to rebel as a teenager. What happened to you?
I try to rebel with these guys and with the music, you know, so we're having fun.
All right. One thing I want to show everyone is your computer,
Yes.
right?
We
you
don't
don't
use,
have sheet music.
No, we don't use the traditional sheet music like most big bands do. What I do is write the charts, and I put them into the computer, and if you can see here, the notes are on the computer, so
Terrific.
it's a lot easier.
All right. What are you singing tonight for us?
Cry Me a River.
Go to it.
Go ahead, Lucian. Now you say you're lonely. You cry the whole night through. Well, you can cry me a river, cry me a river. I cried a river over you. Now you say you're sorry for being so untrue. Well, baby, you can cry me a river, cry me a river. I cried a river over you. You drove me, nearly drove me out of my head. You never shed a tear. Remember, 'cause I remember all that you said. You told me love was too plebeian. You told me you were through with me. And now you say you love me. Well, just to prove you do, sugar, come on and cry me a river. You can cry me a river. I cried a river over you. Yes, Lucian Barberin from New Orleans. And Leroy Jones from New Orleans. Remember, I remember all that you said. You told me love was too plebeian. You told me you were through with me. And now you say you love me. Well, just to prove you do. Come on. Cry me a river. Cry me a river. I cried a river
so much. Harry Connick Jr. Peter,
Thanks very much, Connie, and thank you, Harry, very much for doing this before your show. That's the reason the room was empty, because he's going to do a show at midnight later this evening. We're going to take a Millennium phone call now from Steve Case, the chairman of America Online. Can you hear us, sir?
Yes, I can. Hi, Peter.
How are you, Steve? Nice to hear from you. I think I've now just seen everything. I've seen a big band in Las Vegas tonight. They haven't got music stands with sheets on them anymore. They've got computers.
There you go.
Where on earth is this all going?
Well, I think we're on the verge of what probably will be known as the Internet century, because even though this has been an amazing century with the telephone and the cars and the television and the computer, I think now the Internet's really changing people's lives and how they get information, how they communicate, how they buy products. Even for me, I've been doing this now for 15 years, it's really startling to see how quickly this is taking hold and being part of everyday life.
I must confess that even though I've been on television for the last XD hours, I've got a computer right beside me and I've been getting email from people all around the world. Have you had particularly heavy internet traffic today?
I think it's a pretty heavy day, and I expect it to be heavier still as we move through the evening. So far, everything, certainly at AOL, I think based on what I've heard, everything on the Internet's handling the demand pretty well. There are a lot of people who turn to television. There are also a lot of people who turn to the Internet. Some turn to both. It's sort of a way to not just watch what's happening, but to converse with others around the world and really be part of the conversation. There's almost an electronic community that forms around these major events. It's really quite striking to watch.
I realize, of course, this is a night for celebration, but you're one of the people who worries about where technology may be taking us in the next century. Any particular concerns we need to be aware of now?
Well, I think we're at a very interesting, maybe even magical point in history, because the Internet's now big enough to matter. People are paying attention to it, but still young enough and small enough to be shaped. Still today, less than half of the households in the United States are connected to the Internet. In other countries around the world, the number is even smaller. So it's still a young medium. It's kind of like television was 50 years ago. So I think there's an opportunity to shape this in a positive way, make sure we build a medium we can be proud of, that protects privacy, that makes sure it's safe for kids, that it really does the right thing in terms of bridging the digital divide so nobody's left behind as we move to this connected society. So there are lots of things that need attention. I'm an optimist on this. I think we can strike the right balance and build a medium we can be proud of, but it's going to take proactive action.
Well, thanks very much. We hope you have a very happy New Year. I think you're home with your family in Virginia.
That's exactly right.
And thank you very much for joining us. We wish you and yours a very happy New Year. Take a look out here at Times Square, because talk about a lot of people who are feeling connected to the world. Roger Goodman, who's our director, tells me there is, oh my God, I feel like Howard Cosell, or one of the guys on Monday Night Football. I don't know where they are. Where are they, Roger? Happy New Year to you, too. I don't think that's ever happened to a newsman before, at any rate. Thank you very much, and Happy New Year to you all. Oh, my goodness me. Our Millennium coverage will continue in just a moment.